Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another review, and man, that sun is bright. Let me try to find a different way there. Yeah, there we go. Coming at you guys with another review, and we are back to, yes, 24 Season 1. You got that? 24 Season 1. We are back to this, and we are on, let's see, should have wrote it down here, yes, hour 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And this one was a very good episode to where, if you remember from the last episode, Jack Bauer basically stopped the assassin grabbing a Secret Service member, Alan Hayes' gun, wrestled him to the ground, they arrested him, and Gaines thought Jack screwed him, and he was going to kill his family, and then he decided against it, thinking that they could still use Jack Bauer to further this. But also Gaines is mad because, his assassin Jonathan didn't give a shot off. He hasn't heard from Jonathan. More likely, Jonathan has escaped this tragedy in fear for his life, I'm going to imagine, unless someone caught up from him, because we don't really hear from Jonathan Metayevic, who was posing as photographer Martin Belkin, again throughout this episode, unless there was a deleted scene that they took out that I've never seen. But of the mind that Jonathan Metayevic just cut his losses and got the hell out of Dodge, because figured screwing with either Ira Gaines or who they were contracted to was not going to be a good thing to stick around for the encore. While Gaines is freaking out, you have Nina and Tony, Nina Myers and Tony Almeida still, arguing with Jamey Farrell. Jamey's not wanting to give anything up, and she's wanting immunity first. And what happens is that Nina needs to get back on the floor to work. She can't reveal herself without Gaines getting suspicious, so Jamey helps Nina and Tony cut the feed of Ira Gaines' operation, so Ira Gaines is blind at CTU and a few other places he had access to thanks to Jamey's reach. At the same time, Jack Bauer, like I said, was taken into custody. Palmer had gotten out of there safely. You have Sherry who's worried. David Palmer wants to know more about the assassination, and he's gearing up to have, Keith's murder be still brought out by Maureen Kingsley. But with Jack, he's brought to the back of the power plant they were at. Frank Symes, the head of the Secret Service for that division, is there. Alan Hayes is with them all the way. Arguments ensue. Jack says, my family's being held hostage. I need to get out of here to protect the president. I did what I needed to do to protect the president. Not everyone believes him. Not everybody wants to believe him. Frank Symes, I think, does believe him to a point, but has sympathy, but he's not going to help him out because he's like, look, we can't overgo our purview here. You have to tell your story to the FBI and or division, so I'm going to bring you down there. You tell them their story. Jack, who keeps trying to argue with these guys, is visibly upset, you can tell. And as he's, damn it, I want to drop that DVD. Much more at stake here as they take Jack away. But Jack, who's with Secret Service member Alan Hayes and a few other agents, he notices that there's steam vents coming out of this power plant. He then breaks away from the agents and starts hitting the steam vents to, get in their way, burn them, escape. He doesn't want to do this, but he knows he has to get away to protect his family and flush out these villains, whoever wants to kill, Senator Palmer. And as he's running away, he gets out, he gets onto the main streets, he holds a diner waitress named Lauren Proctor, played by Lauren Proctor, hostage. He takes Lauren, and Lauren is, the jerk was saying in this episode, and I give her credit too. Give her credit. She's terrified. She's scared, but she does what she can to defend herself against Jack by trying to use maze, trying to sneak away when she could. So Lauren is definitely no dummy of the game, but she's this hapless waitress who works at a diner, is doing court, has all these troubles, has no idea what's going on, and there are a few scenes where Jack has to get rough with her. but he doesn't really want to, and he even tells her his story a little bit, not the whole thing, but he tells her a bit about it, quickly as well. They both hide out at a construction site where they get to know about each other a bit more. You have Lauren get some bolt cutters for Jack to cut his cuffs, so now he can move around freely. The cuffs are still on his wrist, but he can move about freely to it. To the point as well, we have a continuation of Tony and Nina trying to work with Jamey to get immunity. Jack has made a call to them now to tell them what's going on, what happened to him, what he's been doing. And, they're trying to get Jamey to communicate and cooperate. Jamey doesn't want to give up she does give up Gaines' name, but doesn't, say anything more than that. And she says that Gaines is paying her only $300,000, to which, Tony says, well, yeah, I could use $300,000. And it's funny how, again, like Tony even says, well, what was this, $1 million, $2 million, and when she says $300,000, he's like, well, yeah, that's a lot of money, we could use it, and, we understand your gripes, Jamey, you're not getting as much as everybody else, but that's how we all feel, but we're here to do a job, it's not really about the money. And, we learned Jamey was a single parent, her husband left her and her son with nothing, and all this stuff ensues. However, when Jack calls and Jamey isn't cooperating, and even to the point where, Jack is trying to be nice to her, befriend her, saying he can help her out, Jamey doesn't believe it and doesn't buy it. Tony even has a gun to her head, and she still isn't even cooperating. And, at the point, Jack is getting all pissed here. He says, she has a son named Kyle. Bring him in. And, it's just all these things where, Nina didn't want to do that, but Jack was insistent, so they bring Kyle in for Jamey. At the same time, as Kyle's coming in, Milo wants to know what's going on. He doesn't know why Jamey's not back yet, and he thinks Jamey's in trouble, but, Tony and Nina don't tell Milo anything, but yet Milo has to take over her spots. He gets a bump in pay, so hey, good for Milo. He gets some more pay out of this, even though he's taking on more work than he probably wanted to sign on for. But hey, more money can't be bad, right? At the same time, you have stuff also continuing with Teri and Kim, who got brought back to their cell in the farmhouse thing where they're locking them in and keeping them in this cell barn thing. And they get back there, they're crying, they're both upset, they're wondering how to get out of the situation, don't know exactly what to do. A little while on in the episode, Eli comes back, Eli Strom. He wants to basically rape Kim, and Kim Bauer is fighting back. She doesn't want to go with Eli. To Kim's credit, she does what she can. She literally scratches his eye right here, and actually makes Eli bleed, so she hurt Eli pretty bad. Not terribly to where he's severely injured, but, she did draw blood on Eli, and, Eli pushed Teri out of the way. Teri Bauer goes for a tumble, and, you have Kim pick up this board to try to whack Eli with it, and then Eli takes out a gun almost to shoot Kim, and Teri gets in the way with this creepy smile saying, hey, I won't fight you. I won't fight you. Yeah. Come on. And, so basically, Teri takes the rape for Kim, which Kim cannot believe they do, or she does for her. And then, you have Teri come back relatively unharmed, which I know a lot of people say is probably unrealistic, but given that this was 2001, come on, guys, she probably couldn't be so roughed up, censors and stuff at the time, because we weren't in Game of Thrones or Sopranos or Boardwalk Empire or any of that territory yet. We were still long ways from that, so, they probably couldn't really show Teri that damaged. Meanwhile, though, as Teri comes back, she's all somber and silent. Kim's wondering how okay she is. All of a sudden, we see Teri whip out this phone. She took Eli's phone. She tries to make a call to CTU. She calls she calls Nina's chair in her desk. Nina picks up, and Tony and Nina are trying to find her. She starts to talk. Doesn't say much, though, because Neil Choi, another henchman of Ira Gaines, comes in. And Neil Choi, is stacking crates in the barn. He's watching them, and Kim and Teri, there we go, Kim and Teri cleverly hide the phone, putting it in Terry's pants, and also covering it with her shirt and her jacket that she's worn throughout the episode so far. So that's where that one leaves off. So basically they had to hang up on Nina right away, so they couldn't really get a location from them just yet. As it keeps ticking by, though, and the episode keeps going on, we also have Senator Palmer and his wife Sherry coming back from the breakfast. They're talking about Keith and this whole thing. Sherry wants David Palmer to drop the whole thing against Keith. Let's sit on it for a while. Let's not bring it out. I know you want to tell your story, but it's dangerous. We shouldn't do this. You almost lost your life. And Sherry seems to really care. Meanwhile, David Palmer is sitting here saying, no, we have to just face the music. It's going to come out. We can't stop it. And then you have Sherry, beg David, Senator Palmer once again, bury the story. Try to see if he could stop her. And, David's like, she won't budge. She won't do anything. So you have Sherry go into a bedroom, side bedroom, to where you have her on the phone with Maureen saying that there was a government agent who tried to kill her husband, said on the story about Keith, and I'll milk my sources. Maureen actually decides to set out the story for that, so you have Sherry giving away important governmental information that shouldn't probably be given away to the public yet, and, to bury the story about Keith. Meanwhile, you have his coming up chief of staff, if he's elected as president, Mike Novick, come in, and David Palmer's drinking. He's stressed out from the morning already, and you have Mike say, the agent who tried the assassination was Jack Bauer. Palmer seems to think of something. Mike Novick's like, do you know him? And Senator Palmer's like, the name's familiar. I'll have to think of it. And while that's going on, you have a little thing with Keith where Keith comes in. He's concerned about his dad and his mom, but they say they're all right. Palmer's trying to get Keith to realize that, hey, stuff's going to come up. You're not going to go to prison, though. I'm going to do what I can to keep you out of it. Keith still doesn't buy it, walks away from his dad dejected and still a bit of a jerk. Because, you can understand Keith's viewpoint, but the way he's treating his dad, where his dad's trying to look at this from all the positive angles, and Keith doesn't want to hear it. I can sort of get Keith's thing, but it's like, yeah, come on, Keith, mellow out. But, hey, that's how it goes, I guess. To the same time, he looks back to Mike, and, he's telling Mike to prepare a formal statement for when Maureen Kingsley comes out with the story. Mike's all happy saying, hey, there's no need. She's sitting on the story, and he's like, hey, maybe you got through to her. And David Palmer's like, no, it's something else. And then he rushes over to Sherry to ask her, hey, Maureen Kingsley, she didn't want to come out with the story. That's very odd. And she's like, well, maybe she came to her better senses, David. We don't need to pursue this. He's like, I want to talk to Maureen. Honey, shouldn't we just leave it? No. I want to be aware of everybody's motives. And, not letting it go. And the look on, I know I'm not doing it justice by telling it to you guys, but the look on Dennis Haysbert, who plays Senator Palmer's face, is like, I know you did something, Sherry. I know you did something, and I'm going to figure it out. We also have, the continuation of Jack and Lauren. Jack gets a car from CTU from Nina and Tony, and he wants Lauren to go get the car to basically bring it to him so he can escape and get to where he needs to. Lauren's afraid. Cops and the Secret Service. Alan Hayes is there. They all show up, and they're wanting to arrest Jack. Lauren is afraid. She's thinking this is still all crazy. She doesn't fully want to believe Jack yet. And she says, well, Jack, just tell me, for the sake of argument, let's say I believe half of it. Are your daughter and your wife really in trouble? And Jack, looking at her with a pleading face, says, yes. And, she goes to go get the car. She's she's to the halfway point to where she needs to go, but she, struggles, looks around, looks up at Jack from the office they're hiding in, and then she starts to run off to Alan Hayes and the cops pointing to where Jack is. And again, I can understand why Lauren did that, because maybe she didn't fully believe him and she was being held hostage. So I don't blame Lauren for doing that, because in her position, many of us probably would have done the same. Jack, though, gets out of a side window from the office, starts going down a scaffolding. The agents chase after him. He gets onto a lucky break of a dump truck being there, jumps in the dump truck, gets out, gets across the street, gets into the car, and takes off. At the same time, though, too, you have Tony and Nina tell Jamey they're bringing Kyle in, and Jamie's freaking out. She doesn't want to help. She's like, no, you can't involve Kyle. Don't do this. Don't involve Kyle. Nina's being good cop. Tony's being bad cop. And I love Tony where he says, Jamey, let's think of it this way. If you go down for this rap, you're going to go to prison. And let's say we don't get Ira Gaines. Ira Gaines, like I said, they don't know he's Ira Gaines. They just know his last name Gaines. But he says, let's say Gaines, we don't get him. He can't get to you because you're in custody. Where is he going to go? The next person to you, your son. And, you have Jamey breaking down, afraid that her son's life is in danger. What did she do? She still doesn't want to help out. She's freaking out. She says she needs a moment to think. Tony and Nina leave her alone for a bit. They come back. Sadly, Jamey has slashed her wrist with a coffee cup. She's bleeding and blood spurting out. Pretty graphic stuff for 2001 for a crime thriller drama at this time. They're trying to keep her from dying. They're wrapping her in a towel of blood. Gaines is calling again on Jamey's phone, wanting another answer. And, Tony's like, it's Gaines, and that's where the episode ends. So right on a huge cliffhanger. The characters for this one, I gotta give it to y'all like this. Let's see, Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer was really good. Dennis Haysbert, Senator David Palmer, I would say probably my MVP for this episode. Really good. His reactions, his timing, his ways of dealing with these situations for this episode and dealing with his wife were really very good in this one. Karina Aruyave, who played Jamey Farrell, I think was really good. Her refusing to help, wanting to do this was just, Karina Aruyave played it very well. Let's see. Kathleen Wilholt, who played Lauren Proctor, was very good in this episode. She played a really good hostage, very genuine, very fair, very straightforward performance. She did a real good job in this. Let's see. Penny Johnson Gerald, I have to give it up to Sherry Palmer because her vindictiveness and everything is really coming out in this episode, really playing to the person we will find out later on to what she becomes. So not trying to ruin it to you guys, but believe me, she doesn't get any better really. And then I have to give it to Carlos Bernard, Tony Almeida. Him playing the bad cop in this episode was just perfection. Carlos Bernard gave a great performance. And overall, this episode is very well done. It was very fun, very gripping, nice character development. Makes you want to know what happens in the next episodes. So, just can't wait to see it. But what did you guys think? Leave me a message down below. Just message me what you think about this episode. Let's get this discussion going. Until then, this is 0120 Coop coming at you with another review of 24. And I'll see you guys later.